So UVA starts off on September 2nd. That's the game at Nissan Stadium in Nashville against Tennessee. And like I said, it's going to be a good measuring stick. They released the preseason all ACC, and we had one guy. We did, so that's good. Unfortunately, it wasn't like a receiver or quarterback or even a lineman. It was our punter, Daniel Sparks. So we got a great punter, which is awesome. But the fact that he had to get so much work last year is a little telling of how last season went. One other guy on the all ACC list that I ever made a note here was kind of a UVA guy, Fentrell Cypress. Was with us last year, has a history at UVA, but now he's at Florida State, helping out with the old succession of trying to get out of the ACC. But he's on the ACC team, so good for Fentrell. Do y'all see the kicker? I don't know his first name, Ganyard. Let me pull him up here on Instagram. He is like 34 years old. It's been his dream, Matt Ganyard. It's been his dream to be a college kicker for years. Went to the military. He's got a wife, family. He's like 34 years old. I think he's older than me. 16 years later, the dream lives on. I'll hold it up to the screen here. Matt Ganyard, look him up on Instagram. Fucking awesome. 16 years later, the dream lives on. I'm truly humbled to announce that at 34 years young, I'm 35. I'm officially a member of the UVA football team. I've dreamed about this day, countless ups and downs, dead ends, but now a chance to take the next step. Freaking cool as hell, man. That's a cool story for this season. Don't give up on your dreams. You can do anything. Put your mind to it. Practice. Sacrifice. All that stuff. And dreams do come true. So good for my man Matt. I don't know if he's gonna play. You know, we got Willie Whips in the kicker role, and we got a all conference punter. But you never know. Could be like kickoffs or get a chance to kick an extra point or something. So that's pretty cool. I was looking at in the same getting ready for the college football season. I was looking at some of the draft stuff, and Chico Bennett was on some of the list as like one of the top 20 edge rushers in this year's draft. So that's awesome. He was like picked to appear at media day, and I think he's going to be one of the leaders on this team and one of the guys that they focus on in terms of a marketing perspective. So if he could get a boost his draft stock this year, that'd be cool. The D line, really, that was like a strength going into last year, and then most of them are back. Akiri, Camper, Carter, Chico, Butler, like all these guys who they brought in last year, they were a strength of the team. They're all back, so that should be a strength this year. Offensive line, again, similar to last year, a bit of a question mark, but that's something that we'll talk about more the more we go through camp. Another guy, I was looking at the quarterbacks too when I was looking at Chico as one of the top edge rushers. I was looking at some of the top 20 quarterbacks coming out of into this year's draft. And it's funny, I was looking for Brennan because after Brennan had his good year, his really good year at UVA, I mean, he was like sleeper draft pick, like legit could have been drafted. And I remember Trent Dilfer, like pretty big media guy on Fox Sports, and he's a coach too now. He's coaching, but at that time he was on Ryan Rustillo's podcast, and he was saying how Brandon Armstrong was one of the sleeper quarterbacks that could be a big draft pick. And he chose to come back, and then they had the Tony Elliott season and now he's at NC State. But to just imagine how far his stock has fallen, to be like 2 years ago, maybe top 10 quarterbacks, that if Dilfer's mentioning him, then he's got to be like in the conversation, maybe top 15. But now he's not even in the top 20, and he's got more experience. So thought that was an interesting thing that I took note of. And yeah, Wicks is a guy who I hope he has a breakout year for Green Bay. He was another guy who was like after that big year with Brennan, I think stock was real high. And then last year, like just the numbers fell, a lot of drops. And that's kind of been on all the NFL previews I've been reading, like one of the first things that are mentioned is drop rate and iffy hands and all that. And dude, you should be working hard. The Packers are always a team that has like receivers come out of nowhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dontavian Wicks is a guy who maybe has 40 catches this year, gets a shot at least. He's got a new quarterback, Jordan Love, but we'll see. So if you're a card guy, maybe buy some Dontavian Wicks rookies and stash them because he might get a chance come like week 6, week 7. You never know. Jelani Woods, another guy. Y'all know about Jelani. Big dog. Touchdown threat in the red zone. He's gonna talking about fantasy football. It's almost time for fantasy drafts. We don't have a lot of UVA fantasy guys, but Jelani Woods is one. If you want a little tight end sleeper, Jelani Woods. He's ranked number 28 by I got the Athletic fantasy preview, and he was number 28. I feel like it's been a while since we've had a fantasy stud from UVA. GAMEDAY could be. He's on with the Eagles now. He's could be like the number 3 behind AJ and Devontae. He's got skills, man, and he's put up some decent numbers in Atlanta. I've used him on a flyer now and again in like some really deep leagues. So don't count out him if he could get some targets. Those guys are like draw heavy coverage. So GAMEDAY could be a threat, but Jelani, like I'm thinking he could be. Draft him late round or pick him up or whatever, and he catches 10 touchdowns, 10, 12 touchdowns. He could win you your league. I'm trying to think who the last like big fantasy guy was from UVA. For a minute there, I thought Bryce Perkins was gonna, get some starts and with the Rams, catch lightning in a bottle and go on a run. But he's without a team right now, but he's worked out with the Cowboys. I saw that. I'm a Cowboys fan, so that would be cool to have him on the Cowboys as like Dak's numbers, backup. Well, Schaub has some numbers there for a while. A lot more. UVA's put out a lot more like defensive studs, like Thornhill, like guys who are starting and getting regular reps, tackles, offensive linemen, Bryce Hall. It's been a while since we've had like a fantasy guy. Heath Miller, okay, up until 2015. Yeah, he put up numbers. Because like you think about like Chris Long, DeBrickshaw, not guys who are really gonna Rodney McLeod, not gonna defensive dudes, not gonna affect the fantasy. Morgan Moses, Anthony Harris, Thornhill, but Jelani, man, I think it's a tight end thing. Tight end thing with UVA. It's a tight end thing. But yeah, hope he gets it going. And speaking of defensive guys, look out for my boy Shram City, Anthony Johnson. I think he's gonna like get some burn with the Saints. He could ball, so he could be the next guy, the next defensive guy getting solid time in the league. Look out for him. But while we're on the fantasy bug, and if you're a fantasy baseball player, you can get some UVA guys and actually be successful with them. I'm guilty as charged. Like my fantasy team, I'm in first place, not bragging, but I always try and fit in my UVA guys. Like I got Chris Taylor on my bench. He's got like every position under the sun. So he's a good utility guy to have. He's just stole 2 bases last night. Gotta love him. Yeah, outfield, second base, shortstop, and third base. Like you love having a guy like that. And he's got 10 stolen bases, 12 home runs. Like nice, decent guy to fill in if you need him to. And then Jake McCarthy, he's back up and he's steals a lot of bases. He's got a career ahead of him for sure. He's owned by 17% of the leagues in ESPN. 23 steals already this year. That's huge. Geloff is going crazy. Danny Neckel posted a stat the other day that he has like Geloff has like more home runs in the last 2 weeks than any other player. He does it all too. Power, speed, everything. I got him. I picked up him in my fantasy league. He keeps playing well. If you look at his stats, he's got a WAR of. He's only played like 30 games, but he's already got a WAR of almost a full win. And it's a good time for UVA baseball prospects because Geloff's one of the top prospects, and he's performing. And then Andrew Abbott, another guy who we've talked about on this podcast a ton. Abbott, he's gotten roughed up a few starts recently, but like he came in and was just dealing lights out, solid start after solid start. I got the numbers here. Geloff, after just 18 games, has a 0.6 WAR, so positive 0.6 WAR. That's really good, above average. And then Andrew Abbott, he's probably got a dozen starts under his belt now. 12 starts under his belt, and he's got a 2.7 WAR. So WAR is one of my favorite stats because it just shows like, are you an average guy? Or are you helping the team win? Any positive WAR is like you're helping the team. You're better than average replacement. So if you're a fantasy baseball guy, and it's probably too late now unless you hit the waiver wire, but you can sprinkle in some UVA guys in addition to your regular team and be cool. I don't know if the guys in the league know that I'm a UVA fan, but like I picked up Daniel Lynch for a spot start here or there, and he's not having a bad year. Lynch he was injured to start the year, but he's come back and 4.64 ERA as a starter. Like he's an inning eater. It's not bad at all. And he's on the Royals, so he's not getting any run support. So baseball is starting to wrap up. The Charlottesville Tom Sox almost pulled out the Valley League championship. It's a bummer. But they came in second place, and that's just chock full of UVA guys. Aiden Teal was like hit leadoff for a lot of the year. And then guys who are coming to the team, Henry Ford and Jacob Ferentz were, pretty much everyday players for the team. All three of them played a lot and contributed, and it's freaking awesome. So that is coming to a close, and we're almost to football season. You got to love it. It's a great time to be alive. Speaking of summer leagues, the Tonsler League here in Charlottesville at Tonsler Park. I didn't get a chance to get down there, but I see it on Instagram. Chase Coleman, Grant Kersey, Eli Bennett all played for this one team. Splicak. And they didn't win the thing or whatever, but Chase Coleman, man, they put up some of his highlights. I reposted him on my story. Dude was balling. Chase Coleman, the dude who last man off the bench at UVA. It just goes to show you how good the last guy on the bench is on a D1 ACC high level program. Just cooking dudes. 32 points, 9 assists, whatever. But it was cool to see those guys playing together and, out there playing because you love these summer basketball leagues like the Drew League and, up in DC there's one, and here in Charlottesville it's a good league too. Good basketball. And we got Ball Hawks out there emceeing. So there's a lot of UVA ties. Charlottesville's UVA, Charlottesville. Y'all know that. But check these highlights out. Go find Chase Coleman's highlights from this summer in Townsville League. freaking picking pockets and finishing them with dunks and shit. Awesome to see. But thank you guys for listening to the show. Try and be back next week so we get more, consistency with the shows here, and you'll be able to count on a new Virginia Game Day episode each week.